This is In Character. I'm your host, Gerard Robinson, Vice President for Education at the Advanced Studies in Culture Foundation. Hello, this is Gerard Robinson, the host of In Character, and I'm joined by Megan today from the state of Florida. And she was part of a very large group conversation where we talked about families and the role that educators play in involving families in the learning process. As you know, after we do a group interview, we like to do a one-on-one just to do a deeper dive and to know who the person is and maybe to get some more insight onto, in this case, the work that she's doing in her state. So with that, welcome to In Character.
Thanks, Gerard. It's so great to be here.
So you've seen the classroom from the inside. You were the teacher of the year for the state of Florida, and then you decided to create a nonprofit working with families. So first question for you is, how's your nonprofit going and what is it doing to work with families and help them with schools?
Yeah, it's actually a for-profit.
Okay.
So I've always wanted to go into business for myself, especially as a woman who's been in education in many different fields and areas, to be able to put together your own education team and to support public schools and work with the best of the best educators and match them to families has been great. There's a lot of need right now to support families as learning is changing every day with e-learning, hybrid learning, the pandemic.
All those good things. Well, it's definitely good to see the for-profit arm involved in this work as well. So before you started this, what level or levels did you teach in school and what grades in particular?
Great. So I taught fourth and fifth grade in Tampa, Florida, and I taught special education. I worked in teacher education at University of Central Florida and at Mount Holyoke College, and then developed and directed a master's program in teacher leadership at Mount Holyoke College as well. So all ages from 10 to 65.
So for the young students, grades 4 and 5, what strategies do you offer to educators and the families on what we could do to better involve them in their child's education?
Oh my goodness. I think everything should be family centered for our kids, because really that's the first place that learning happens. So some strategies that I offer to educators to help work better with families are to have no assumptions. There really is no such thing right now as the typical family, but families look all different ways. In fact, I think about the language I use as an educator, and I'm trying really hard not even to say parents anymore, but caregivers, because kids are raised by all different kinds of caregivers: aunts, uncles, foster parents. I myself am a stepmother and an adoptive mom. So I think, thinking that families can look at all different ways is really important. And also when working with families, I think that doing a lot more listening than talking at times is also really helpful. To hear what the families are seeing at home with their student, what's happening at home, what joys they have in their kids, and then thinking about how you can embrace that and bring that into your classroom learning experience.
Since you've had a great swath of ages that you work with, are there strategies for young people that are different for, let's say, teenagers, or do you think there are certain strategies that just work across the board?
I think the strategy of just listening works across the board. One thing that I hold really important in the work that I do is spending time listening to kids and talking to kids. And you can learn a lot that way about what they appreciate in learning, what they appreciate in teaching and teachers. And I think, you talk to a 5-year-old or you talk to an 18-year-old and you get them to open up about what they love, what they don't really appreciate, and how they feel about themselves as a learner, their strengths and areas they want to grow. And I think it doesn't matter the age. Those things are all really valuable to know as an educator and to also know as far as working with families and communicating.
A number of your peers, some on your call, but some who've been a part of my In Character conversation, have left the profession. Some have become university professors, some have become principals. You're an entrepreneur, And so what was the desire to say, I want to become an entrepreneur because I can do X, Y, and Z for families and students?
So I think all players are really important in educating kids and raising kids. And as a teacher, something I really struggled with was this idea of the classroom and leaving the classroom. And what I realize is that they're all different kinds of classrooms. When I support teachers and coach them, that's my classroom. When I work with families and help them figure out how to better support their kids with homework or reading, that's my classroom. So for me, it was just redefining how I viewed education and teaching and realizing that teachers play such an integral part, but there are all these other pieces that support the student, the centerpiece of education, that are equally as important. So having these multiple roles has helped me really realize that, um, everybody's going to do their part and work together in sync to support the learning and the growth of our kids.
So if you were a student today or a teacher today in your program 15 years ago, what do you hope you would have, a Megan would have taught you then? Because there are some things like, you know what, this is a great strength. This is something I don't know.
The value of relationship.
Okay.
You can't learn no matter what your classroom is unless you have a relationship with the teacher, the person you're learning from. And that relationship goes two ways. It's not a one-way thing. So I think when I first began teaching and working with families, I was so focused on the standards and the lessons and achievement that I kind of missed the boat on the fact that real achievement is forming those deep relationships that last a lot longer than just a year in a fourth grade classroom.
Great. Last question. Are there any former students who have had conversation with you who say, you know what, you did X and that made an impact on me, and it gave you that feel good moment that a lot of educators say helps get them through the day at times?
Yeah, I think with social media now, I've had the chance to come face to face virtually with a lot of my former students that are now young adults and have families of their own. And I think just hearing what they remember really does solidify this idea of the value of a relationship. I actually was sent an article from my kindergarten teacher by my father today. She's retired after 44 years. And she was saying, Mrs. Sargent, hi, Mrs. Sargent in Lakeland, Florida. But she was saying the same thing, that after looking back with 44 years, what she hears from her kids, from me when I was 5, we're not like the learning how to pronounce the word cat or learning how to read, but are those memories of things that we did together and we learned together, that relationship. So I think relationship is legacy.
Thank you. Well, Megan, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your ideas, and for starting a business to help out the next generation of educators. And keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks so much, Gerard.
Take care.
Bye.